So have you ever promised someone, like maybe your boss or a partner, that a task would take you, I don't know, about an hour?
Oh, yeah. And then you
Well,
find yourself still wrestling with it 3 days later.
right, you're just staring at your screen, totally baffled, wondering where the time went and how you could have been so spectacularly wrong about something that seemed, so simple.
Well, if you're nodding right now, don't worry. You are in very good company.
Hmm.
It's a universal human experience.
It really is. So, welcome to today's deep dive. Our mission today is to unpack the fascinating and honestly surprisingly psychological world of estimating project times and costs.
Which is an incredibly high-stakes world, by the way.
Oh, absolutely. We're going to figure out why our brains just kind of betray us when we look at a calendar. And more importantly, we're going to look at the specific frameworks the professionals use to get closer to the truth.
Because estimating isn't just about, the hard math of building a schedule. It's really about navigating the messy human reality that completely derails that math.
Yeah, and today we're pulling insights from a really comprehensive text on socio-technical project management. There's this Winston Churchill quote from the source that I just love. He said, plans are of little importance, but planning is essential.
That is just, it perfectly captures the core paradox of project management. I mean, the final document itself might be completely useless the second reality hits, right?
Exactly.
But the rigorous act of actually thinking through those steps, that's what saves you. And the core trade-off we have to understand right up front is that accurate estimates cost money, and they cost time to produce.
Right, so you're constantly balancing the benefit of better accuracy against the very real cost of securing it.
Exactly. Like, do you spend $10,000 in labor to estimate a $50,000 project?
Probably not.
Right, definitely not.
But before we even get into the hard numbers and calculation methods, I think we have to look at the messy humans making those estimates.
Oh, for sure. The psychology is everything.
Right, because quality isn't just about data, it's heavily influenced by environment. Think about how we calculate time in our own lives. Say I have to drive to the airport.
Right.
If a friend asks me how long that drive takes, I'll probably just give them an average time. Like, I'll say 30 minutes, assuming a normal, 50-50 chance of traffic.
Which is a completely rational, mathematically sound baseline.
Right, but if they ask me for the absolute fastest time I could possibly get there, assuming all green lights, totally empty highway, I might say 20 minutes.
Sure.
But here is the kicker. If I absolutely positively had to be there to meet, like the President of the United States, my answer changes entirely.
You're not going to say 30 minutes.
No way. I'm going to pad it. I'll say 50 minutes or maybe even an hour just to guarantee there is zero chance I arrive late.
What's fascinating here is how seamlessly that survival instinct translates to the workplace.
Oh.
In professional situations, most of us feel like we're driving to meet the president every single day.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's so true.
We're terrified of missing a deadline. So we instinctively add a little padding to our estimates to reduce our personal risk.
Because nobody wants to be the person who holds up an entire multi-million-dollar launch just because their specific piece of the puzzle took an extra 2 days.
Exactly. But think about the downstream effect when an entire company operates that way.
Or just snowballs.
Right. If every single person at all levels of a project adds a little padding to reduce their individual risk, the total project duration becomes ridiculously overstated.
So a 6-month software update suddenly looks like it's going to take 2 years and require a budget the size of a blockbuster movie.
Yeah, and then management sees this massive bloated timeline and completely freaks out. Their instinct isn't to look at the data, it's to grab an axe and mandate a 10 to 15% cut across the board.
Just arbitrarily slashing the time and budget to make it look, palatable to the board of directors.
Which creates a totally toxic arms race.
Right, because the next time around, the person estimating knows their budget is going to get cut, so they pad their initial estimate by 30% just to protect themselves.
Exactly. It turns estimating into a game of self-protection and office politics, completely abandoning any pursuit of actual accuracy.
Okay, let's unpack this for a second. If everyone is padding their numbers, shouldn't managers just force everyone to give their absolute most aggressive, fastest estimate?
Like the 20-minute airport time.
Yeah. Just demand the 20-minute time, no exceptions. Wouldn't that solve it?
It's a tempting thought, especially for executives, but it actually backfires just as badly because it guarantees failure and destroys morale.
Because no one can be perfect 100% of the time.
Right. So professional estimating frameworks rely on a totally different approach. According to the source's 7 guidelines for estimating, you don't ask for the fastest time. And you don't ask for the worst-case scenario.
What do you ask for them?
You ask for estimates based strictly on normal conditions.
But who gets to decide what normal is? Because my idea of a normal workday and my CEO's idea of a normal workday are very different.
Well, it comes down to standardizing the language. Normal conditions means assuming a standard 8-hour workday, efficient but realistic methods, and a normal level of resources.
So if your department usually has 3 programmers, you base the estimate on 3 programmers.
Yes, you don't base it on suddenly hiring 3 more, and you definitely don't base it on everyone working 80-hour weeks.
Okay, that prevents the whole "we can do it if we never sleep" heroic assumption.
Exactly. Another crucial guideline is ensuring independence. Estimators have to treat each task completely independently of the others.
Meaning estimating one task shouldn't be influenced by the next one.
Right. You never want a planner looking at a long chain of tasks and deductively adjusting individual times just to meet some arbitrary deadline handed down from the top.
That just hides the real uncertainties. But how does a company actually enforce that? Like, how do you stop people from hoarding extra time just in case things go wrong? Because things always go wrong.
By establishing a strict rule, never include contingencies in individual work packages.
Wait, really? No safety net at all?
Not at the individual level. The estimate has to assume those normal conditions. But instead of everyone hiding extra hours in their own secret slush funds, management creates a separate, dedicated contingency fund for the whole project.
Okay. So you take the safety net away from the individual and put it at the project level where it can be managed transparently. That makes sense.
It changes the entire culture. It shifts the dynamic from hiding information to sharing it.
Right. So taking the padding away solves the trust issue, but it creates a new problem. How do you calculate the baseline time if you can't rely on that safety net? Because there are two wildly different approaches to this in the source material, depending on where you sit in the organization.
Yeah, the classic top-down versus bottom-up debate.
Let's start with top-down, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's macro. These estimates usually come from senior management, and they're often based on past experience or, like, loose analogies.
Or sometimes just a gut feeling.
Seriously. There's this notorious real-world scenario from the text that plays out in city politics all the time. Imagine a mayor of a major city giving a press conference.
Okay.
And he announces that a brand new state-of-the-art city building will be constructed for exactly $23 million, and it'll be ready in exactly 2.5 years.
And where did the mayor get that highly specific number?
Probably from a guesstimate scribbled on a napkin during a luncheon. It's wild. Management just decrees the time and cost from the top down, usually to secure funding quickly, and everyone below just has to scramble to make reality fit the napkin.
Which is why top-down mandates are so dangerous. They're fast, they're cheap to produce, but they lack any granular knowledge of what it actually takes to pour the concrete or wire the building.
Right. That brings us to the opposite approach, bottom-up estimating. This is the micro level.
Yes, this is where the estimating process is pushed down to the people who are actually doing the work. They build estimates up through something called a work breakdown structure.
Okay, work breakdown structure sounds like intense corporate jargon. Are we just talking about daily to-do lists?
Think of it like a massive Lego set. The box shows you the final product, say, a pirate ship. But the instructions break that ship down into phases: the hull, the masts, the cabin.
Okay, I'm with you.
Then it breaks those phases down into individual bags of bricks. A work breakdown structure does the same thing. It takes a massive project and dissects it into tiny, manageable work packages.
So the people doing the work estimate the time for their specific bag of bricks, and you roll all those numbers up to get the total cost of the ship.
Exactly. And the huge advantage here is leverage. If the top-down mandate from the mayor is 2 years, but your bottom-up analysis says 2.5 years based on normal conditions, you now have a tool for trade-offs.
You can go to the decision makers and say, look, we can finish in 2 years, but it will cost more in overtime.
Right. It changes the conversation from a one-way demand to an actual negotiation.
Here is where it gets really interesting, though. How do you get those bottom-up numbers when a task is entirely subjective? There's a fascinating method for this called the Delphi method.
Oh, the Delphi method is an incredibly powerful tool, especially when you're dealing with high uncertainty or, strong egos.
Yeah, so picture a Hollywood movie executive. He's trying to decide whether to shoot a massive remake of the classic film Gunga Din.
Okay.
Both his superstar screenwriter and his famous director are absolutely insisting on shooting it on location in India.
Which carries a massive amount of financial risk. The logistics alone are a nightmare.
Exactly. To figure out if it's viable, the executive doesn't just ask the director, who obviously wants a free trip to India, and he doesn't just put 5 financial experts in a conference room.
Because if he does that, the loudest person or the one with the fanciest title just dominates.
Right, the halo effect. People just fall in line behind the highest paid person in the room. So, to avoid egos, he uses the Delphi method.
He recruits 5 experts, right?
Yep. Sends them all an anonymous questionnaire asking for cost estimates. No one knows who else is being asked. He gets the answers back, sees a massive disparity, summarizes their reasoning, and sends that summary back out for a second round.
So the experts read the anonymous reasoning of their peers and adjust their own estimates.
Exactly. After a few rounds of this, the group consensus naturally converges on a realistic cost, completely stripping out the egos and peer pressure.
It harnesses group intelligence without the social friction. It's brilliant. But we do have to acknowledge that bottom-up estimating isn't always possible for a whole project right from day one.
Wait, why not? If it's the most accurate, shouldn't we always build the Lego set from the ground up?
Because of profound uncertainty. Think about developing reusable rockets or a brand new type of AI. The final product isn't even fully known yet.
Oh, right. You can't ask for a detailed estimate of Phase 4 when Phase 1 requires technology that hasn't even been invented.
Exactly. You'd just be making up numbers. So in those cases, professionals use phase estimating.
Which is a hybrid approach.
Yes. You do detailed bottom-up estimates for the immediate phase you're entering. But for all future phases, you rely on macro top-down estimates. Then, as you complete a phase and uncertainty drops, you do a detailed estimate for the next one.
Okay, let's look at the scoreboard here. We have the Delphi method for egos, bottom-up analysis for micro-level accuracy, phase estimating for the unknown, and we've stripped away the padding with contingency funds.
Sounds perfect.
Right. So why do project managers still regularly multiply total estimated costs by 1.2 to compensate for reality? Why do things still consistently go wrong?
That is the multi-million-dollar question. Even with perfect frameworks, hidden factors destroy estimates. And the biggest culprit is hidden interaction costs.
What does that look like in practice?
Well, work is never actually done in a vacuum. Say you have a team developing a prototype. They constantly need to ask the design engineers clarifying questions or troubleshoot why a part isn't fitting.
And the time spent having those conversations, scheduling the Zoom meetings, waiting 3 days for an email, none of that is reflected in the independent estimate for building the prototype.
Right. Coordination is practically a full-time job.
Yeah.
And that overhead increases exponentially as you add more people.
It's the invisible glue between tasks that slows everything down. What else blows up the math?
Well, normal conditions often fail.
Yeah.
You might have planned your schedule assuming 4 bulldozers are available, but Tuesday morning, 1 breaks down and you only have 3.
Suddenly a 5-day task takes 8 days.
Exactly. Plus, project scopes inevitably change midstream.
So what does this all mean? Is the math just wrong, or is human nature just getting in the way again?
It is deeply rooted in human nature. 2 massive psychological hurdles guarantee cost overruns. The first is optimism bias. Decades of cognitive research show that we simply have a neurological tendency to overestimate how quickly we can get things done.
We genuinely believe we can do things faster than is humanly possible.
We really do, actively ignoring all historical evidence to the contrary.
We're stubbornly hopeful creatures. We always think this time will be different.
But the second hurdle is much darker. It's called strategic misrepresentation.
Is that just a polite corporate phrase for lying?
Basically, yes. It's where project promoters purposely underestimate costs and overestimate benefits just to get the project approved.
Because they know if they present the real numbers, finance will kill it immediately.
Right. And when that strategic misrepresentation scales up to billions of dollars, it creates the ultimate disaster, the mega project failure.
Oh man, mega projects, high-speed rail lines, international airports, the Olympics.
Projects that cost $1 billion or more.
Yeah, and there is a triple whammy that hits these mega projects. First, they cost significantly more than expected. Second, they underdeliver on benefits. And third, the maintenance costs exceed the revenue.
It's a slow-motion disaster. Like the Denver airport opened in 1995 with cost overruns of 200%.
Yeah.
Or the tunnel connecting France and England, 80% over budget.
There is a fantastic term for these kinds of burdensome failures from the text White Elephants, and I eagerly have to share the historical origin of this because it's brilliant.
Let's hear it.
It goes back to the kings of Siam, modern-day Thailand. When a courtier fell out of favor, the king would give them a highly publicized gift, an actual sacred white elephant.
Which sounds like an incredible honor.
Right, but the true intent was completely malicious. The king knew the immense cost of caring for this sacred animal would financially ruin the recipient. It was a brutal punishment disguised as a prize.
And today, our cities are constantly gifting themselves white elephants. Think of the Concorde airplane, an absolute marvel, but the maintenance costs made it totally economically unviable.
Or the 1976 Montreal Olympics. The main stadium had this unique donut design, originally nicknamed the Big O, but the cost overruns were so catastrophic it became known as the Big O.
The Big O, ouch!
Yeah, it was supposed to cost $134 million. It took Canadian taxpayers 30 years to pay off the final $1.1 billion debt.
3 decades paying for a 2-week event.
The ultimate white elephant. But you can contrast that with the London 2012 Olympics, right? They didn't fall into that trap.
No, they were terrified of the Montreal scenario, so they designed for the aftermath. Their aquatic center held 17,000 spectators for the games, but they built the seating wings to be entirely modular.
So after the games, they just detached the wings and downsized it to a sustainable 2,500 seat capacity.
Exactly. But if we connect this to the bigger picture,
Yeah.
how do we stop the strategic misrepresentation that causes these bloated budgets in the first place?
Yeah, how do we cure the white elephant?
The cure is a rigorous concept called reference class forecasting, or RCF.
RCF, how does that work?
Instead of trusting the biased promoters, RCF demands an outside empirical view. Say you're building a 3-mile rail tunnel, and promoters swear it will cost $100 million.
Right.
Using RCF, you look at a distribution of past tunnel projects.
Yeah.
And the empirical data tells you that, historically, these tunnels run an average of 34% over budget.
So you force the current project to justify why it won't suffer the same fate.
Exactly. You don't argue at their line items. You just point to the weight of history.
Wait, that makes total sense for a standard tunnel. But what if you're building something totally unprecedented, like a commercial Mars colony?
Promoters love that excuse. They say it's unique so they can ignore historical data. But RCF handles this by finding proxy classes.
Proxy classes.
Yeah, you might not have built a Mars colony, but you can look at the cost overruns of Antarctic research stations or the International Space Station. You blend those to create a baseline of how badly we underestimate remote habitats.
That is a brilliant defense mechanism. So to summarize, all of this estimating is basically a constant tug of war.
It really is.
It requires blending the micro-level knowledge of the people doing the work with the macro-level reality checks of past historical data, all while navigating human optimism and office politics.
It takes as much psychological awareness as mathematical skill.
Absolutely. So for you listening, the next time you're asked for an estimate, whether for a multi-million-dollar proposal or just when you'll be done with a spreadsheet, take a second.
Right. Ask yourself what kind of estimate you're really giving.
Are you providing a top-down napkin guess or a bottom-up reality? Are you accounting for those hidden interactions?
It's a moment to practice a little self-awareness.
But I want to leave you with one final, deeply provocative thought pulled directly from the text's research on strategic misrepresentation. We spent this whole time talking about how to strip away deception to get accurate numbers.
But some promoters actually rationalize their deception.
Yes. They claim that if the public truly knew in advance what the massive costs and agonizing delays were actually going to be, nothing great would ever be built.
It's known as the principle of the hiding hand.
They argue that we need the lie to secure the initial funding. We need the optimism bias to get the shovels in the ground.
And once the hole is dug, society is forced to step up and finish the masterpiece.
So ask yourself, is a little bit of deception and wild optimism actually a necessary ingredient for human progress? Does strict, perfectly accurate estimating actually kill ambition?
It's a fascinating dilemma.
Something to chew on the next time you're staring at your calendar. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.